The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you on July 20th, 2022. Oh boy, I am beyond exhausted. I'm mentally drained. I probably shouldn't be recording a podcast tonight because honestly, I'm just exhausted. I've had a rough 8 days. We'll get to this in a second. Of course, this podcast is subscribed to all podcast catchers, as I always say, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on Amazon, Stitcher Radio, Apple Podcasts, you name it. Also, you can follow me on my YouTube page, Ernest Christian on Twitter. Not Twitter, on YouTube, Ernest Christian 7 on Twitter, of course. Man, I'm exhausted, and someone who has ADHD, especially too, like myself, that likes to meddle in many different things, whether it be in the podcasting world, whether it be with stuff to do privately at home. It's a drain, but it's been a very draining 8 days. I have a sick 5-year-old for the last 5 days. It's been a rough 8 days, not 5 days, 8 days. My 5-year-old has been under the weather since last Wednesday. And we originally thought he's had a stomach issue, and we originally thought the reason this happened was because of the fact that so here's a story. We were at Walmart on last Tuesday, and kids would behave well. Their mom's at work the whole night, so I was going to reward them. My son asked me to get him some Oreo cookies, and I'm like, I was saying no at first because we have a history with Oreo cookies in my youngest son. Every time he eats Oreo cookies, or at least sometimes he eats Oreo cookies, he has a tendency to eat too much of those at one time to the point where it triggers him to vomit. Okay, he's had 2 episodes already in the past where he's done that. I mean, there's one really, really bad one last year where we were in the car and actually I got in a flat tire, and while I was trying to pump up the air at a Wawa, at a local Wawa in my area, he started throwing up. I had to get graphic here. He was eating the Christmas cookies that we had gotten. So it had the red filling in the middle. So he was throwing up all of the red crap all over his car seat. Yeah, wasn't fun to clean up either. A couple of times. So I've been my wife and I have been very, very resistant to buying him cookies as much lately because he tends to binge it, and obviously you're gonna say, well, why? You're the parent, you should be able to monitor that. Yeah, of course. I mean, we're not saying that, but I decided to reward him on Tuesday because I figured, okay, should be a big deal. Get a couple cookies here, and he should be fine. Wednesday morning we wake up. Well, actually, Wednesday morning we're asleep. He wakes up, and apparently while we were asleep, because he gets up pretty early. He's a very early riser. He's a 6:30, 7 o'clock riser, which I guess is going to be a good thing going forward when he starts school. He starts kindergarten in about 3 weeks. He sneaks downstairs and goes into the pantry and somehow reaches the Oreo cookies that I put up in the pantry and supposedly eats a bunch of them. I wake up about an hour later and he's complaining of stomach pain. I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on here? So I go to work. My wife's home most of the day. And I get texts, hours later that his stomach is hurting. He's throwing up like crazy, this and that. So automatically we're assuming, okay, it's Oreo cookies. It's Oreos. Of course it is. Because this always happens this way. So she handles it at first, and then she's like, a couple hours later, she's like, you know what, I need help here. He hasn't stopped. If you can come home early, you can. Please come home. And which I did. I came home fairly early. Came home to take care of the situation, clean up. Obviously he threw up all over our sheets, all over our blankets and towels and stuff. So I was had to handle that situation. Meanwhile, he kept throwing up over and over again. And my wife had to work the night also too, so she wanted to get some rest. But it got to the point where it was getting so bad, and not only that, she figured that it was going to end up being a 2-man job here, not just me, but she figured that she needed to be here home and to monitor the situation with me as well. So she decided to call out of work that night, which I get it, totally get it. The next day, he ended up calming down a little bit. No, I'm sorry. We ended up calling the pediatrician. We did a visit over Zoom, when we call it. And he prescribed for Zofran. Zofran is supposed to help with the throwing up and all that. So we ended up going to CVS that same night, picked up some Zofran. He took it like a champ, and he was fine. The next day, he actually was pretty well for the most part, too. His stomach wasn't hurting as much. Thursday night, we're, doing whatever. We go to sleep, whatever. Friday morning, wakes up, complaining about stomach pain again. And basically, he's like, you know what? This is simply ER. My wife takes him to the ER early in the morning. They go there. Nothing happens. They say they can't do anything about it. So they just said, continue to Zofran, get a couple of days. It's a stomach bug, has to go through, whatever, that kind of thing. Fine, we go there. Bring back home. He stops throwing up for a day or two. He's fine. Throughout the weekend, he's okay. He has off and on pain here and there, but he's okay for the most part. We put him on a BRAP diet. He eats only toast and bananas and rice and all that, and we've been fairly strict with it for the first day or two. And then we realized that he's starting to feel better now on Saturday, going to Sunday. And then Sunday, he's feeling okay. He's eating like normal. So to the point where we just say, we take the gloves off. Screw it. He's back. Our Logan's back. Let's go ahead and just, be normal again. So he eats his normal stuff. He eats some snacks and whatever. Little do we know that's a mistake. He goes to bed like normal, 7:30 o'clock. He goes to bed, falls asleep, not a problem. And then my wife and I were talking. We were watching TV, having a conversation about stuff and all that. Next thing you know, about 10:30 at night, he wakes up from his room. Comes in the room, complains about his stomach's hurting again. His belly's hurting. Next thing you know, he has to go throw up. Goes to the bathroom. He projectiles, vomits in the toilet twice. Next thing you know, it's like, okay, this is an issue. So my wife, panicking, of course, says we have to go back to the ER again. But she doesn't want to go alone this time because she's at this point she's just the anxiety, she's stressed. So rather than her going along with our son in the middle of the night, she says, "Can you come with me?" And I say, I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do it. Now, mind you, I have to work next morning, so I'm very worried that I don't know how long this is going to take. So I'm a little worried about, okay, can we do this? And hopefully they prescribe something in a timely fashion so we can go home. I'm not trying to sound selfish here, too, because I want to get some sleep also, too. So we woke up my son, my oldest son, Eli, and he said, come on, we got to go to the car. So we all, as a family, went to the ER. Now, Eli and I stayed in the car for about an hour. Hour and a half later, they were done. Basically, they had nothing to do. They said, just keep it, stay on the BRAT diet, keep giving his Zofran, all that. So we just did that. And then came back home in a relatively timely manner. It wasn't that bad. I went to sleep. Kids were fine again. And then it's been relatively up and down the last couple of days. So yesterday he had an issue. He was doing okay. Yesterday he had an issue. He was okay Monday for the most part. Then Tuesday, yesterday, he had his complaining about stomach pains again. So my wife go to work. She works a long day on Tuesday. So I'll handle it at home. We'll figure it out. He's okay off and on here and there. Go to my mom's house. He's having stomach pains at my mom's house. So we give him a nap. He takes a nice hour and a half nap. He's fine. Wakes up. He still has stomach pains again, of course. Comes home, and then he throws up again. I give him Gatorade. About 10 minutes later, he throws up a Gatorade. Which actually helps him eventually. But my wife at this point is worried. She's at work. She calls the pediatrician and said we can set an appointment for the doctor. Which was today actually. They went in there, same thing. They said basically just wait another week, see what happens. Keep on the BRAT diet. Keep away from these foods. Can't eat chips. Can't eat crackers. You can't eat chips. You can't eat sugary food. None of that stuff. Which he doesn't understand because he's now complaining, but he wants to have certain kind of foods that he likes, and we're not going to give it to him because we know that if he eats those foods, it's going to hurt his stomach. He doesn't get it. So he had in fact, I was at work today. He had a major meltdown on the phone. I was on FaceTime with him that he wanted to eat chips, and I said, "No, chips are bad for you. The chips are the reason why you had stomach issues 2 days ago," and he didn't get that. So, he's meanwhile on the phone, just yelling, just complaining, Gotta come home. Came home a little early from work again today, which I didn't want to do that, but I came home early from work anyway. He's been fine most of the day anyway, though. He's been eating relatively decent. He's eating bread, a little bit of tuna, bread and cream cheese and a couple of things that matter. But it's been a rough day. It's been a rough week. It's been a rough couple, 8 days, and, when it's not impacting sleep, it's not impacting us leaving work early and leave money on the table. And yes, we get, it's our kids. I mean, they come first, and I get all that, but it's been stressful. And now my wife today also is now complaining of stomach pain as well too. So the bug now that he has, apparently got to my wife now. So right as we speak right now, she's at work and she's going through it herself. So like I said, it's been a rough 8 days. I'm just praying to God I don't get this bug now, or my oldest son Eli's got this bug either, because this has been a really rough summer for us, honestly. This has been a very depressing summer in some ways for us. We all been sick at least once, each of us, all four of us. So it hasn't been a fun summer. It has been a summer that we really enjoyed. It's been one of the better Christian family summers. You know, I'm actually kind of happy that we're getting close to the end of the summer and we're getting closer to school starting and get back to normal, life, if you call it. So, but it sucks. It really sucks. Another thing that sucks too also is I had a couple passings. No one necessarily close to me personally, but at my job where I work at, some of these customers I deal with for being a job for 19 years. A lot of these customers, especially in the poker industry, you get to become friends. Sometimes become family in a lot of ways. And there's a guy that plays. I haven't seen him much in the last year or two since COVID, but he's someone I've seen off and on quite often. We talk all the time, ask about my family, we're Facebook friends and all that. He passed away over the weekend, and it was shocking because he when I last saw him about a month ago, he didn't look sick and none of that. He looks like he looks like normal. Obviously I don't know how he died. I don't know if it was because of natural causes. It was because of maybe an accident or something. I don't know, but I was kind of shocked. And then a good friend of mine also too. His mother passed away yesterday or over the weekend, whatever it was. A friend of mine actually, it's actually been on this podcast one time, but way back, like 11 years ago on this podcast. His mom passed away, and I know this friend I worked with him for a long time. He's also been a friend of mine. I've played shows with him. We've never been in the same band together, but we've done shows together in the past, and I know him for about 21 years. His mom passed away in a tragic car accident up in Hawaii, and it was just sad. It's very sad. I met his mom a few times, not many times, a few times, through the years. And she was a very sweet lady, very nice, loved Jesus, loved God, and all that. And but when these things happen, these passings, these tragic deaths happen, it goes back. For me personally, it goes the mortality argument comes back to the forefront. I'm someone who's had a hard time dealing with that because I grew up terrified of death, terrified of dying. Now, as I got older, it's lessened to some degree, but I'm still terrified of it. I still have questions about the afterlife. I'm a believer, but I still have questions about the afterlife. Is heaven and hell real and all that? Do you feel pain when you die? There's a lot of things that, I went through this when my grandfather passed away in 2011. My grandmother passed away in 2012, and my uncle passed away in 2015. So I've had some deaths in the last decade that I've dealt with that's close to mine. And for the first 30 years of my life, I didn't have that. Maybe a couple of friends here and there, or someone I knew, or someone I knew. 3 degrees or 4 degrees of a friendship or whatever it may be. But it wasn't until like the last 10 years that I started dealing with close people close to me, family that's passed. The mortality thing for me is weird. It's just like it makes you think. I'm 42. Again, when I talk about this podcast about crossroads, and when I talk about things like what's my next 40 years going to be, my biggest fear in my life right now, I don't think it's dying anymore. I think my biggest fear now in my life at 42 is dying young, for starters, and dying not seeing my kids grow, into teenagers, into adults. They get married, have kids, who knows? That's my biggest fear. And every time I see people around me that pass away, whether it's customers, and by the way, a lot of customers, at my job are older. And I've lost a lot of people who I consider friends in the last 2-3 years because of COVID alone. So I've been dealing with that already, and just the mental aspect of that and mortality and whatnot. Because you never know. You can't time this. This happens. That's why I'm trying to be in the best health as possible now. I'm taking that more serious these days. Because like I said, my biggest fear is not dying anymore. I guess I don't want to die, and we're all going to have our day. My biggest fear is dying too young and then not seeing my kids, grow up. And I still think also for myself, that I want to accomplish, I want to do. I want to travel. I wanted to do all sort of things, between now and the next, 30, 40 years, 1 second. Sorry, I had a little sip of tea. But yeah, every time you have these things that happen, it kind of gets back into your head, like, when is my time? So mortality is this. It's just sits on me. It does. It really does. It's strange. So I've been still having also continued back problems. This past Monday, obviously you go to the ER early Monday morning, like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Come home, go to sleep, stressed out. I wake up, I go to the shower. Now, in my line of work, I'm a poker dealer, so my thing is I need to stay limber, I need to stay fresh, I need to stretch. And the last couple of years, I've been stressing about doing it more often, especially too, as I get older, and you want to keep your bones good and your joints good, and make sure your muscles are stretched out and all that. The dealing is that's the one thing with my job I don't like. Like I love my job. I love what I do. I love the people I work with, people I deal with every time. The roughest part of my job, and I'll say it again, it's always been, and it still is the physical part. But a lot of that also can be controlled by myself if I can stay in shape and eat healthier and eat better and all that, and stretch and all that. So this Monday I attempted to stretch, for work. But I do that in the shower because it's easier for me to do it in the shower when I'm, the warm water, the heat, the humidity all over your body. You can actually, if you can probably get a better stretch, and it's a lot easier and all that. I decided to stretch and try to touch my toes, touch the ground, and that was a mistake. I did that and I lost it. My lower back went out. A lot of my issues with my back in recent years has been mostly upper. I've rarely had lower back issues, but when I stretched on Monday, I was I was in so much pain. Went to work, worked a couple hours, and then at some point I said I just gave it up. I had to come back home. It was just rough. I bent down to stretch my lower back, and I almost passed out first off, and then this pain in my back was so bad. It was it actually ended up being so bad I had to go to the bathroom. That's how bad it was. So, and now today, this is what's weird now. 48 hours later, it's weird. 48 hours later, my lower back feels better. But now my shoulder, down to my blade area on my right side of my back, upper, of course, is hurting now. It started hurting today as well. So, I can't catch a break. I just can't catch a break. And now today, I didn't stretch. Today, I should have stretched, but I woke up late. I actually overslept this morning and all that, so I was rushing to work, so I didn't really have a chance to do that. But normally I do stretch. Today I didn't stretch, and it cost me. And my upper back here is just it's like a big lump. Not a lump. It's like a big pain, a whole bunch of pain, and my not on my shoulder, but it's kind of between my shoulder and my arm. My arm, on the right side of my back. It was just oh my god, it was horrible. So. Yeah, I'm in pain now too. So right now, so I'll spend the next day and a half just stretching out and taking care of that, because I have to be I gotta be limber for my job, or else I can't do my job to the best of my ability, and then that's a problem. So all right, what else on the docket here? Oh, I finally. Well, I shouldn't say finally, because I did start the show a couple years ago, but now I'm actually binging it through. I have now officially started binging really in a big way Succession on HBO. I started the show with my wife about 3 years ago, and we started the first, I think, 2 or 3 episodes of the series, and we stopped, and then I asked her if she wanted to start watching it again. She's like, no. So I said, okay, well, that's my show now. But I had a chance. Well, let's have a chance. I haven't really felt the need to watch it in recent, last couple of years. And then I was like, you know what? I'm in a mood to watch content. This is the time of year now where there's no basketball right now. There's no football yet. Everything's kind of open now. My podcast schedule's open up a little bit now too, especially. I have time now to really dive into content again. And this is the time of year between now and, say, even October, to where I really dive into content. whether it's podcasts or audiobooks or TV shows or even movies behind them. So I noticed that Succession. I was like, you know what? It's only 3 seasons in. There's only 10 episodes per season. I could dive into this thing and just kind of go through it. So I last week or so I've just been go with Succession. So right now I'm on season 2 right now. I've finished the first season over the weekend. Started the first 2 episodes of season 2. And the big takeaway right now so far is there are really no likable characters on the show. Like, there's no likable or redeemable characters on the show at all. And it's kind of has that, for me anyway, I'm not sure I might agree with this, whatever. It kind of has that Breaking Bad feel. And I love Breaking Bad. But Breaking Bad had no likable character. At least the main characters in the show, no one likable. Like, my favorite character on Breaking Bad was one of the criminals, Mike Ehrmantraut. He was a hitman. So, while he was my favorite character on the show, he wasn't someone else redeemable either. So, but this show, same thing. Like, you have, obviously, the father, Logan, that's not my son, who's cutthroat. He's known to be cutthroat. He kind of reminds me of the Roger Ayers, the guy, who's the guy at Fox News again? The head of Fox News, that passed away years ago. Very, cutthroat and all that. His kids are very spoiled and, entitled. Kendall, who thinks he should be the head of the company, but he doesn't get it. He has drug issues, came out of rehab 3 years later, and now relapsed again to the drug issues. You have Kieran Culkin's character, which is Roman, who's a complete douchebag and asshole. Funny as hell on the show, but an asshole. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, like, no one's likable. Shiv, the daughter, she's somewhat likable, but she's also a bit entitled and, all that. And then, you have the other son, Connor, who's very, like, just out there, but also kind of entitled too at the same time. It's just so weird. Now, who knows? Maybe as I get through season 2, going to season 3, I know that says season 4 will be out next year. Maybe I will find some likable characters on the show. I'm not sure right now if it's the best show on television. Like, I'm a big Ted Lasso guy. Like, right now, I've been saying the best show I've watched the last 5 years is Ted Lasso. I will say Succession's up there, though. I will say it's very compelling television. I probably put Ted Lasso 1, maybe Succession top 5 right now. Shows I've watched in the last couple of years. But it's a good show. It's a really good show. I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually gonna start binging it again. As soon as I get off this podcast, I'm gonna go back and binge the as much of season 2 as I can. I work part of the day tomorrow, so maybe I'll watch a little bit tomorrow as well. My goal is to get done with my goal is actually to get done with this show. It's caught up with the show by the end of July, and I think I'll do it. I think I'll do it because I've been really dedicating really into streaming my my material and all that now. Speaking of streaming, that's something I'm really been trying to get a handle on now these days with streaming. Like, now we are middle of 2022. Netflix is doing their thing. Like, they've lost another near 1 million subscribers this quarter. Remember, they lost 2 million or 3 million. I know it was 2 million for the first quarter. Back in, I think, March, April, and now they lost another 1 million according to numbers that came out this past week. And now they're making adjustments. Now they're going to add adds to their service and all that, and I get that. But here at home, I'm really trying to figure out a balance because obviously the rates going up now. There's so many streaming services now. This is a common topic on this podcast all the time about how much is too much streaming, and how much is too much to be paying for. I've always said that the real value in streaming services isn't the money you save anymore. I've been saying this for years, even before these prices got jacked up. I've always said that the real value in streaming services is more of the control in what you pay for. Again, when you get cable, you are pretty much paying for channels that you likely are not want to pay for. Like, let's say you order just basic cable, and let's say you have in that package, you get Lifetime and maybe the Food Network and whatever. But none of those stations you would ever pay for on your own. It just comes with the bundle. But you don't think of it that way. You don't look at it as that. You're not paying for those channels. You're paying for those channels if you don't even know it. Or you're forced to have those channels because of the fact that it's a bundle. Whereas with streaming services, when you order Hulu, when you order Peacock, when you order Disney, all that, you are making a decision to pay for that platform. Okay? So the problem here at home for me is how much is too much. So let's get a breakdown here real quick. I am subscribed to the following. I'm subscribed to Hulu, which I bundle with my HBO and Showtime. So I pay about $36 a month right now. I'm on Showtime right now. I'm on a deal. I have a 6-month deal right now. I'm paying $4 a month or something like that for Showtime. Now, when 6 months come up, we'll figure it out. The reason I got that because there's a couple of shows on there I've been wanting to watch. I know the Circus on there too. I wanted to catch up on before they restart in August, whatever it may be. Of course, Hulu comes with that too. So Hulu and HBO, I pay together. So I pay $32 a month for those two plus the Showtime. I pay for Peacock also, which is $10 a month, mainly because of the WWE network, mainly because of the WWE. So I keep that for WWE mainly, okay? Which, of course, wasn't really a big cost because when they moved into Peacock last year, you basically just transferred over WWE network by itself to the Peacock. So I actually gained more, by paying the same price, but I gained the library for free. I pay for Disney Plus, which is about $7 a month still. ESPN Plus is I think still $5. Pay for Amazon Prime, which is about $13 now. I think it's went up to $13. I have Netflix, which I just canceled recently. I now use my mom's. Her and I switch off now. She uses my Hulu's and Peacocks and stuff. In exchange, I use her. In exchange, I use her Netflix. I use her Paramount Plus, and I use her Apple Plus. But how much is too much? And then when we get back to basketball season, of course, I spoke on this podcast last month about Bally Sports Plus. I'm going to be likely getting that service for a few months because they are now providing a service now where I can watch Miami Heat games because you can't watch that on my League Pass because I live within 80 miles of the blackouts section. So for me to watch Heat games, I need to get Bally Sports Plus. That'll be another $20 a month I'll be paying for. I also get NBA League Pass, which is about $25 a month. I'll probably have someone share a cost with me. Maybe we'll see what happens there. Then I got to figure out NFL Red Zone, but still to this day, they don't have. You have to order a service to get to the Red Zone. I'm hoping that the NFL at some point figures out a way to provide Red Zone for the customers. By itself. I've been saying for years, I will pay upwards of $15, $20 a month for Red Zone because at least I can get it. But unfortunately, you have to order whatever it is. Sling, you got to order YouTube TV, which costs $50 each just to get to Red Zone, which is then another $10 on top of that. I'm not doing that. Sorry, I'm not doing that. So the only way I've gotten Red Zone recently is that I've gotten it through my mobile. So it sucks, but it is what it is. So I'm trying to figure out I gotta balance it out, man. There's a lot of costs going up here and there and all that. What services do I not need? I can't get rid of Peacock because I use WWE Network. I watch my pay-per-views on there. I watch WWE Library all the time, and there's still good shows on Peacock too I want to watch. Same with Hulu. I use Hulu all the time. I love HBO. I'm not counting HBO. HBO is only my favorite station of all, or my favorite service of all. Showtime, we'll see how that goes the next 6 months. Amazon Prime I use not just because of the TV, the service, but also for everything else around that. So it gets challenging, like what stations how much is too much, Like I'm still going through right now the list of things I subscribe to. Yeah, it's crazy. Thank God I have my mom to, that she has other services that she has that her and I trade off. She'll use my Hulu, she'll use my Peacock, she'll use my Disney, in exchange for her Paramount Plus, her Apple Plus, which I watched Ted Lasso on, of course, and her Paramount Plus and Netflix now. That's the big one because I canceled Netflix. I canceled my own Netflix. I got tired of having it, paying for something that I barely use anymore. So, but it's a challenge. It's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be a bigger challenge in October when I get basketball, because I'm gonna get NBA League Pass. I'm an NBA junkie, and when I get Bally Sports Plus, when I need to watch my Miami Heat games, it's going to be a challenge, but we will see. We will see how that plays out. So it's the ever conversation of of streaming services here. So, last thing before I go, this week is the Major League Baseball All Star Break. And I gotta tell you, it's been really, really cool for the first time in about 4 or 5 years that we're in the middle of July, toward the end of July, All Star Break, and I give a shit about baseball. And I'll be honest with you, I'll go this far. This season has made me fall in love with the game again, especially the regular season game, especially the regular season. Yes, is it because the Mets in first place? Absolutely. I said to you guys for a while now that I made a decision a couple years ago to start treating the Mets like a TV show. If the Mets are not good by July, and we know that they're not going to be a playoff team or even contention going down to the last 2 months of the year, why do I keep watching? Why waste that time? Now, I do that for the Heat because I love basketball. I love the Heat and this and that. So they're they're pretty much the only team that I'm heavily invested into. Where even if they're not now, granted, this is also very rare because they're always in contention for the playoffs, and every so often in contention for the championship. But even the years where they're not a top tier team or a playoff team or whatever, I still watch because I'm a Heat fan. I noticed with the Giants recently too. When the Giants are out of contention, I just don't care anymore. The Mets have been kind of the same way too. And it's not because I'm not a fan, but you get older, you have priority, you have kids, you have a wife, you have a job, you have this podcast, you have other things that keep you occupied. You have TV shows to watch and other things of that nature. I'm not going to waste my time on a product that's not good enough. It's why I decided to treat it like a TV show. If a TV show sucks, you're going to keep watching it? At some point, it is what it is. You stop watching. So why? It's no different here when it comes to sports, too, honestly. But, the Mets being in first place right now and being really good. I mean, last year they had a start similar to this, but the difference is they've sustained so far. And Buck Schultz has really changed the culture in New York. I said it before, and I'll say it again. This Mets team is really, really fascinating. I'm still worried because the Braves are right behind them. The NL East race has been very, very, in the last month or so, has been very interesting. The Braves, the Mets now took out 2 out of 3 early in the week, which is great, or last week rather, so to hold off the pesky Braves. Obviously the Dodgers are still dominating, of course, for best record in the National League. The Yankees are dominating as well too. No surprise there, but hopefully that they come down to earth a little bit. I know they played this. I think they played that series this week, if I'm not mistaken. The Yankees and Mets, I think it's either this week or next week. I'm not sure exactly. Actually, let me check it right now. Because I was telling somebody actually at work today who said that he believes the Mets are the only team that can beat the Yankees because of the pitching staff. And yes, that series is next week, Tuesday through. It's 2 games. It's only a 2-game set. I'm surprised. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, the 26th, 27th of July. Kind of surprised that it's only a 2-game set, considering it's a Subway Series. A lot of money there. Who knows? The AL East has been, you have the Orioles on fire. Every team in the AL East is 500 better. The Red Sox has started to fall apart again. The Mariners just ended this first part of the year on a 14-game winning streak. So it's been a very compelling season too. Also, not just for the Mets being good, but also a lot of teams doing some really cool things also too, like the Orioles and the Mariners, and a lot of good races out there. This is going to be a very compelling finish to the season, and I'm just glad that for the first time in a couple of years, I feel invested into it. I feel really invested, and I'm really happy about that. And yes, this is the Mets, of course, but it helps that also there's actually really interesting stories going on in baseball, and I'm really happy about that. So, second season should be just interesting the first half of the season. Hopefully the Mets can hold on, and hopefully DeGrom gets back. He had a setback 2 days ago, shoulder soreness. But if Max Scherzer and Jacob DeGrom can be even 3/4 of what they've been before this year, I think this team could be very special. Obviously, you want to see them make a move. There's rumors about them being in the mix to get Juan Soto, who turned down a big 15-year, $400 million plus deal with the Nationals, and now they put him on the train block. I have mixed feelings about whether or not just to go after him. But again, the guy is also I just realized this week that he's also only 23 years old. So he's not someone that's like Aaron Judge, who's like over 30. This guy is 23 years old. So you're getting a guy you can invest to, that could be really, really good. So, but anyway, that will do it for this podcast. I'm going to go rest now, watch some Succession, binge some stuff here. Again, July 20th, 2022. Or EJ Christian 7 on Twitter. I am literally on my last battery powered day. I just had a rough day today. I'm gonna get some rest now. You can hear me slur my words now. Yeah, it's over now. So until again, we'll talk soon. And thank you.